Hey everybody, Steve Prziborowski here. Hope you're doing as well as can be given the circumstances. Welcome to episode 10 of How to Excel at Fire Department Promotional Examinations. Episode 10 is going to touch upon more about what the fire chief is looking for when you take your next promotional examination. This is part 3. So let's get going. As a reminder, my website, code3firetraining.com, has a lot of great free stuff. Just check the free stuff link. Promotional preparation information, officer development information, leadership information, training information, great information for every rank from firefighter up to fire chief. Help me, help you, as they say. So feel free to reach out. My contact information is there as well, and I'll share that at the end too. So as a reminder, these webinars, whatever you want to call them, are based upon one of the books I've had published, one of them being How to Excel at Fire Department Promotional Exams, that is available off my website in ebook or hard copy print softcover format. A great collection of information I put together to help you be the best candidate that you can be. And also wait, there's more. No, sorry, I digress. Early 2021, I'm hoping to have my next promotional preparation book, 101 Tips to Ace Your Next Promotional Exam, released by a major fire publisher, and I'm really excited about that, and I'll give you more information when I have that available. But for now, this is one of the best resources I have to help you. So let's talk about last episode, number 9. We discussed the second part of the question, what the fire chief was looking for, and then obviously episode 8, we talked about the first part. So let's continue that discussion of what the fire chief is looking for. And when I talk about looking for, this is the information that they're giving in their speech to the raters that are kind enough to volunteer their time to help the department pick the next group of leaders, to help rank those that are taking that promotional examination. Now, there still may be a fire chief's interview, and the fire chief is usually not involved in the initial phases, but this is the information the fire chief is usually telling the raters that are coming to help the department select the candidates that are ready to step into that next position. So let's get going. We talked a lot about soft skills the last episode, which again, I can't overemphasize enough. Soft skills are a lost art and probably one of the biggest things employers are looking for across the country in every line of work. So besides that, let's talk about some other things that great candidates possess. And again, these are things the fire chief is looking for. The fire chief is looking for someone who can determine if it is a go or a no-go situation upon arrival at a structure fire, at a hazmat incident, at a wildland fire, whatever major incident, in a safe, expeditious, and calculated manner. And you may say, So as I'm going to talk about the first bullet point, this is about risk management. Yeah, as a firefighter, sometimes I ask this question of firefighters. I love asking them the question, hey, who in the room is a firefighter or engineer? What do you care more about, going inside a burning building or safety and risk management? What do you think the answer is? Most firefighters are engineers. I mean, they understand, they get safety, they're taught safety, they know right from wrong. But if they have a choice, heck, we're going to go inside that burning building, kick ass, take names. I get it. But now that you're an officer, you got responsibility to do what you can to make sure that those men and women that are under your command go home safely to their families and their loved ones. Now, it may not always happen because there are times when firefighters get injured or killed. It happens, sadly, it's part of the job, and hopefully it's for the right reasons being in the middle of saving the life of somebody else. That's, again, why we're here in the emergency services, to help others, to give back, but also to help risk our lives when appropriate. So here's where it gets a little dicey. Using the term low, medium, or high probability when we talk about risk management, someone is inside and indeed worth the risk. Now, that's easier said than done, because I know a lot of people go, what is low versus medium versus high probability that someone's inside, number one, and number two, is worth the risk of us going in? Well, the second part, I guess, is the easy part. You pull up to a structure fire and there's fire out of every orifice. You pull up to the structure fire, fire out of every door, every window, everywhere. It's just boom, blowing. Okay. Whether or not there's anybody still inside that building, what are the odds that somebody is survivable inside that building? Meaning, if there's heavy fire blowing out of that structure from every window, every door, the odds of someone surviving, again, without an SCBA and probably having been in that environment for a number of minutes. I mean, even if your firehouse is across the street, it's still going to take you a few minutes to get that rig pulled in, air brake set, hose line pulled off, water charged, 360 done, forceful entry maybe if necessary, all those other things we got to do. That still takes a few minutes, even if you're practicing dialed in. I mean, and that's assuming there's no traffic, assuming there's no travel time. Yeah. So that's the hard part of, hey, if the building is fully involved, there comes a point where there's probably not going to be anyone survivable inside. But if we do our 360 and there's maybe fire only in a portion of the building, maybe a room, we don't know we may not know it's a bedroom, but I'm saying maybe if we know it's a bedroom or a room in the house, and then there's a portion of the house or portion of the structure, if it's not a house, that is not involved, then you know what? There's probably a good chance someone could be survivable inside there. The hard part of, low, medium, or high probability is, I mean, it's not an exact science. I mean, hey, there's a time and a place to get our butts inside that burning building. And there's a time and a place when we pull up and say, well, we did the 360. There's there's fire and smoke out of every orifice. There's no way anyone can survive this. I mean, that's the toughest decision you're ever going to make as an officer, because guess what your crew wants to do? Your crew's humping your leg to get to butt in the burning building because they want to fight fire, kick ass, take names. And then let's throw another dynamic in there. Let's say you got a civilian, my baby's in there. And you're like, your baby may be in there, but there's no way your baby's going to survive because look at that fire. It just flashed over. Yeah, flash over. We all know the definition. Everything inside is burning. And sadly, that includes people if they're in there. So, and that may be the toughest thing you ever have to say, not just to your crew, but also to the family member or loved one, because if you tell them you're not going inside, obviously they may become violent. They may go running in. Now you got maybe another victim, and you got another dynamic you got to deal with at some point. And I've heard some firefighters across the country call their officers cowards. I've heard that. My captain, my lieutenant, my chief's a coward or a wussy or whatever because they didn't let us go inside. Well, I don't have all the facts. I wasn't there. I'm not going to make a judgment, but there may be a time and a place where you do your 360, like I said, and sorry, we're not going in. And that's the fallout, sadly, at the kitchen table when you're not around, is like, hey, he or she was a wussy. They should have let us go in. I could have saved that baby. Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know. But I mean, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. Because then if we go in and somebody on the fire department gets killed or injured, that's on ourselves too. I mean, we own that for the rest of our life as an officer. We tried. I mean, you still got a disappointed family member, but it's a tough decision, and it's not an easy one. But again, if it's not fully involved, then we need to do our best to get ourselves in there to get fast water in the fire and to an aggressive primary search just to ensure. And you can't just write off a building just saying, well, there's nobody in it. How do you know there's nobody in it? I mean, building may look vacant from the outside, even if it's boarded up, but that doesn't guarantee that it is vacant, especially in a lot of areas with, that are going through tough economic times. There's a lot of homeless folks that are living in a lot of these, quote, vacant buildings. So their lives count too, don't they? So it's challenging. But again, fire chiefs are looking for candidates to make decisions, to do the right thing, to go inside and do their job, but also know when to say when and say, sorry, we're not going in, or we're pulling out because it's just, there's no way that anybody could survive. And again, it's not an exact science and you've got to live with yourself, but I'd rather live with myself knowing that we did the right things. I kept my crew safe, and hey, the building was fully involved. I mean, I don't know what to say. So that's why officers get paid, for career officers, why they get paid to make those tough decisions. Thankfully, this sounds bad, not thankfully, but thankfully in most departments, fires make up, a very small amount of calls. And decisions like this are usually pretty rare. I mean, but when you got to make them at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's the toughest decision you're ever going to make. Quickly, can you determine if it's body recovery or rescue? And you know what? There's always going to be someone questioning you. Maybe your crew, maybe other firefighters, maybe the public, maybe the media. I mean, look at some of the cops. Yeah. Look at some of the cops that didn't go into active shooter environments, the cops that are getting labeled as cowards. I mean, I get it. I mean, God, probably chances are that cop goes in that active shooter environment, like in Parkland, Florida, they probably would have been dead too. But you know what? That's what you signed up for. I mean, there's a time and a place to get ourselves in those hazardous environments. Because if we're not going to go into those hazardous environments to risk our lives when appropriate for savable lives, then we're in the wrong line of work. And what else is a fire chief looking for? Well, someone that can do the 6 most important things of a structure fire. And it's not just structure fire, really any incident, but structure fires, just to build upon the things I previously touched on. Chiefs are, and again, this is not just a fire chief. All of us should be looking for these things. This is not rocket science. Perform a complete size up. That means a full 360 before you decide where to take your hose line and place your hose line, which entrance to go in. Do we go in the front door? Do we go in the garage? Do we take it around the Bravo side, Delta side, go around to the back, the Charlie side? I don't know. Many ways to sometimes take a hose line in a building, but the key to a complete size up is doing the 360, because things can look great on the front end, but they may look totally different on the back end. I mean, there's many stories of that, of, well, it looked like a 2-story building from the front, and then yeah, it was a house on the side of a hill and it had 7 stories if you look from the back, and you wouldn't have even gone around the back because you couldn't get there. So size up is critical. So I know people say, I don't have time to do a 360. Well, I'll argue, you don't have time not to do a 360. Take a look at any NIOSH after action report. And as a firefighter of any rank, you should be checking out NIOSH after action reports for firefighter line of duty deaths. And when you see the major contributing factors of what's killing and injuring firefighters, usually these things are up there, you know, not completing the 360 or a complete size up. So size up is critical. It starts, I mean, size up starts the day you get hired at that department, because you're starting to learn everything in your first 2 area in your jurisdiction. Size up is not just when you arrive on scene. It's when you got hired by that department because you're already doing your research. It's when you get to work. It's on your 4-day. It's throughout the call. It's non-stop. That's size up. Number 2, determine if anyone savable could be inside, as I touched upon. Yeah, that's why you wear these bugles and get that badge and get the extra pay, because you got to make the tough decisions. Is there a chance? And remember, it's 3 in the morning. You're doing your 360. You may have the public members or the family members screaming at you to get your butt inside. You get your crew humping your legs saying, we got to go inside, we got to go inside. And you've got to quickly process, well, is there not? Again, fire out of every orifice makes it pretty easy, but that doesn't happen all the time. Number 3, get fast water on the fire with the most appropriate size hose line placed in the correct location. And I think that's the key in today's fire service. With fires burning hotter, faster, due to changing fire behavior conditions, as well as different building construction materials, fast water is the key. Fast water saves lives. I'm not saying to extinguish the fire. It'd be nice if you extinguished it, because once you put the fire out, you solve your rescue problem, because there is no longer rescue. You solve your firefighter safety issue, because again, if the fire's out, there shouldn't, I mean, I know firefighters still get injured, sadly, when the fire's out during, you know, salvage and overhaul and everything else. But fast water on the fire, I mean, what's the saying? There's a saying that you may have heard, you may not have heard, but more lives get and I don't know who said the saying, but more lives get saved with that first hose line that is properly sized, properly placed, to be able to at least contain that fire to, you know, hopefully the room or the area of origin, to allow anybody inside a chance to get out of there safely, protect the egress, and allow us to do a primary search as well too. So getting fast water in the fire, I mean, whether it's by fire sprinklers or whether it's just by us, whether it's 1 3/4, 2.5 inch deck gun, whatever, fast water is critical. I mean, I know some people say, well, we got to go into rescue mode initially, screw the water. Well, I get it. I mean, rescue is, well, but Steve, Lloyd Lehman, RECIO, rescue, exposure, confinement, extinguishment, overhaul, RECIO, rescue is most important. Okay, human life is most important. But again, as I mentioned, how do you solve your rescue problem? Get water on the fire. Definitely put your fire out. I'm not saying don't rescue people. I'm not saying don't have 2 in, 2 out or rapid intervention crews, but I'm saying we need to focus our efforts on getting fast, you know, locating the fire, number 1, and then number 2, getting fast water on it, just so we can do our best, because we know how much that'll help rescue. And we also know how fast fire doubles in size if it's not dealt with. So fast water is key. We're also, number 4, the fire chief is not looking for you to get anyone injured or killed on the watch. Again, we know what happens. I mean, look at 9/11, I mean, one of the major tragedies in our life. Some of you maybe weren't born, so maybe not your life, but in my life at least, 343 members of the FDNY were killed. And of course, many injured and many killed after the fact related to the events that can be traced back to that incident. God, almost 19 years ago, almost. Seems like yesterday. Hey, there's some that might have argued, why did they even go inside? Well, okay, yeah, they might have lost 343, but they saved thousands of lives given the actions that they took to get people safely out of harm's way. I mean, hey, those are heroes. Those are individuals that went into that building, many of them realizing, you know what, I may not come out of this one, but you know what, helping people get out, and hey, you know what, that's what you signed up for when the time is there. And thankfully, we don't deal with these issues. Most firefighters may never deal with that in their entire career, which is good. I mean, I know it's not fun or exciting and not what you signed up for, because you want to do the fun, exciting stuff. But you know what? Thank God for so many reasons. I mean, just for so many reasons. I mean, the post-traumatic stress and all the other things that come along with it, it's not worth it for anybody. Plus the lives lost and folks that are injured. Number 5, we didn't cause the problem, as they say. We're there to make it better. Hopefully not make it worse. Hopefully at least stabilize it or make it better. Sometimes we can't make it better. I mean, sometimes we at least burn it down to the ground, protect the exposure, and we have a parking lot named after us now. Well, hey, at least if we kept it to that area of, I guess, the parking lot, and didn't allow it to expose itself to other buildings or spread to other buildings, hey, that's not bad. I mean, again, by the time we're showing up at a fire with fires burning so hot and so fast today's world, without fire sprinklers, without early detection devices, we're behind the curve as it is. Flashover is occurring so much faster than it used to because of the new fire behavior understanding that we have, and because of building construction techniques and materials. So our goal is to try to not make it any worse than possible. Or what, as I say, that then had we showed up, because sadly sometimes, as you see some incidents that unfold across the country, and it's not just volunteer departments. Everyone is so quick to bash volunteer firefighters. It could be career departments, volunteer departments, whatever type of department. Sometimes it's like, well, maybe if the fire department hadn't even shown up at all. I mean, think about it. You don't show up to a structure fire, what's going to happen? The building's going to burn to the ground. And if there's no other exposures around, the building's going to burn to the ground, and you have the foundation. I mean, hopefully you don't make it any worse than having people question, I mean, why did you even show up at all? I mean, look at a lot of law enforcement situations that law enforcement is dealing with today with, individuals getting killed. I bet you there's a lot of family members going, well, had the cops not even shown up, that person probably would have still been alive. And again, I'm not here to try to debate the whole situation, but we try a lot in the fire service to compare ourselves to law enforcement when it comes to pay, when it comes to benefits and everything else. We're looked upon very similarly. So let's try to make it not any worse. And then number 6, effectively command and control the incident. This is the hard part. As a firefighter, you want to be on the knob, you want to be on the nozzle, you want to go into the thick of it. But as an officer, you may still be going in, but now you're not probably on the nozzle anymore. You're backing up your firefighter, helping hump hose, helping support, and step back with the 50,000-foot view. Yeah, that's the hard part sometimes, especially with a 3-person crew. If you have a 4-person crew, it's a lot easier to be a boss, supervisor. But as a 3-person crew, you're a working boss, you're a working supervisor. And one moment you may be humping hose, helping out your firefighter on the nozzle and maybe doing a primary search. And the next minute you got to be supervising, maybe talking on the radio. It's hard with 3-person companies, but it is what it is. And you got to make the best of it. But again, command and control. And you look at what's killing and injuring firefighters, as I touched on a little bit in the last slide. Command and control is usually one of the top 3 items. NIOSH has what they call the top 5. I encourage you to Google NIOSH top 5. It's the top 5 contributing factors to firefighter line of duty deaths. And you'll see some of these items in there. Yeah, we just want officers that can not make it any worse, but also effectively command and control the fire or the incident, because it could be maybe not a fire. But pretty simple, huh? Yeah, easier said than done. So in the next episode, we're going to discuss more about what the fire chief is looking for. And again, this is not just the fire chief. If you think about it, what is the battalion chief looking for? What is the deputy chiefs looking for? What is your firefighters looking for? I mean, I know your firefighters may want to have a lot more fun than you may allow them to, because sometimes fun can bleed into harassment or discrimination or, you know, workplace injuries or other things that you're going to be held accountable for. But for the most part, firefighters are looking for a boss that'll get the job done as well too, and also take care of them. So as always, thank you very much for the gift of your time. My contact information, my cell phone and my email address are on my website, code3firetraining.com. Feel free to connect with me on social media. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you out, please don't hesitate to reach out. Even if it's just to bounce a question off me, email me, text me, call me, whatever. Connect with me on social media. I'm here for you. I'm a resource. So until the next episode, take care. Be safe, everybody. We'll see you soon.